Miss Erica Badu was not joking when she literally said pack light, because you're gonna miss your bus because you got too much stuff. What if I told you that holding on to unnecessary weight and things could literally derail you or even stop you from getting to your desired destination? It's literally like trying to run for the bus holding on to 20 bags. You know you're not going to get that because you are heavy and weighed down. And I'm not talking about your weight. Hey beautiful peoples, my name is Zababel and welcome to my little corner of the internet where I literally am here to help you to become your best self through self-development, mindset shift, faith, and everything in between. I share relatable experiences coupled with logical and practical tips to get you to your finish line. So if you're on a journey of wanting to become your best self, please do not forget to subscribe, like, and comment, and then we can go on this journey together. So on this video, I'm going to talk about the topic on letting go, and I'm going to give you an analogy to illustrate why it's so important to let go of certain things in your life. So I've got this glass of water and I'm going to ask you, how heavy do you think this glass of water is? I know a lot of you guys are going to say it don't weigh a thing, but what if I told you to hold it for 30 seconds, a minute, 5 minutes, an hour, a day? Now I know after a day, it is going to be really heavy. It's going to be weighing you down. You're going to be begging to put it down. You'll probably even want to get your other hand to actually pull it back up. And that's the thing with certain things in our lives. We don't see why it's so detrimental to hold on to them because we do not see the immediate consequences of how it could literally be derailing us. But if you actually look back on certain things in your life, these are the reason why you may be suffering from low self-esteem, from self-doubt, from self-hate, or even just not really believing in yourself. And I think it's such a great time to actually look back on 2024 and really reflect on certain things that really made us happy, what worked, what didn't work, what we were able to achieve, what we weren't able to achieve, the things that stuck, the things that more grief and heartache, and the things that really allowed you to be lighter. Because one thing that I know is that we all are in different areas of life, we all are coming from different walks of life, but for most of us, we want the same thing. We want to show up in the best way that we can possibly show up. We want to have peace and joy and happiness. We want to walk out in purpose. We want to do the things that God has put inside of our hearts. We literally want to show up as the best version of ourselves. But sometimes there's certain things that are in our life that just doesn't serve us anymore. And so in this video, I'm going to list out some of the personal things in which I let go of this year that really helped me to show up as my better self today. So number one, mindsets and thoughts that no longer serve you. Now, why this is so important is because that your mind dictates how your body will actually do. There's a saying that says that where the mind goes, the body will follow. So if the mind is in a place which is healthy, which is positive, and which is in a believing state, then your body can't follow suit. A lot of us are in this space of time where we want to reinvent ourselves, where we are creating goals, and we're really looking forward to January the 1st, where we can actually start to implement some of the things that we want to see or achieve in 2025. But most of us are actually neglecting this really important aspect of our minds and the way that we think. Because if we don't have a solid foundation to build new things on, then we're not going to be able to actually get things done. If you have a mind that is full of self-doubt or doesn't actually believe in themselves, then how do we actually expect us to actually follow through in the goals and the thing we want to achieve? Statistics say that only 9% of people actually follow through and achieve their New Year's resolution. And the reason for that is because that many people are trying to build new habits without actually becoming a new person. And that starts with changing your mindset. And one of the things in which I really had to learn this year is to actually get comfortable with the thoughts that pop up in my head. In my first video, I talked about overcoming difficult season, and I shared how I had lost my job. And I'm one of those people that literally have gone through so many difficult situations. I'm known as a bounce back queen. Nobody really worries about me because then I can just get things done. But in this season, I found myself having toxic way of thinking. I truly believe that I was able to just start creating things or implementing new things. But every single time that I tried something new or I tried to accomplish something, I was hit with a block and I couldn't actually move forward because of how I was thinking, the thoughts that were coming into my mind. And I don't know if you've actually thought this or you've experienced this when you have tried to start something new. Maybe you wanted to start a new course or start a new career or actually start a passion project or, lose weight. But there was a block and maybe you started for the first couple of days or the first couple of weeks, but then it came to a halt because you had some invasive thoughts, a way of thinking that actually stopped you in the middle of your tracks. And that's one of the things that we really have to work on is our way of thinking. What are the things in which we're thinking about ourselves and our situations? And one way in which you can start to figure out what you actually believe and what you're actually thinking is to sit in silence. Get used to being by yourself. Get into a dark room. Even if you believe that light is a distraction or people are a distraction, get yourself into a dark room. I know it sounds kind of weird, but get yourself into a dark room, put the lights off, sit in the middle of the room and allow yourself to think. Allow the thoughts to come up. Ask yourself questions. Let's just say that you want to lose weight and you ask yourself, do I believe I can lose weight? And allow the force to just pop up. You might actually be surprised to realize that you don't believe that you could lose weight, or you don't believe that you should look good, or that you don't be the best version of yourself, or you're allowed to be that certain size. But you won't know that until you've actually decided to sit with yourself and allow those thoughts that are buried underneath so many things to resurface and actually show where you're really at. And then one thing I'll say is that get a piece of paper and start to write down what thoughts are coming into your mind. I like to go and say is that, think of your thoughts as just passing cars. They don't belong to you. These are just things that are pop into your mind to show you that maybe where you were programmed to think negatively about yourself, maybe you will actually start to realize that it's not actually your voice. It could be a parent's voice, a sibling's voice, an ex-partner's voice, a former friend's voice that actually sound like self-doubt or self-criticism. And start to write them down and start to see what are the common things that pops up in your head so you can actually decide what to do with them. One thing for sure and two for certain, that it does not matter what you're trying to achieve. It doesn't matter all of the desires in which you have. It doesn't matter that you're trying to actually change your life and you're trying to go from X to Y. But if you don't actually sort out the way that you think, the way that you think about yourself, the way that you think about your situation, then you're not going to get far. If you don't believe that you can, then you won't. There is a saying in the Bible that says that as a man thinks, so is he. If you believe that you can't do something, you won't do it. If you believe that you don't deserve something, then you won't go forward and try to accomplish it. If you don't believe that you're allowed to be heard, you're allowed to be happy, then you're not going to press on to get certain things in your life. And so it's really important that we get to a point where we start to actually get comfortable with the uncomfortable things that start to pop up in our minds. So then we can start to actually find ways to change those limiting beliefs, to change those thought processes and start to rehearse positive affirmations, positive words, instead of actually rehearse what's negative and what's going to keep you stuck. Number two, to stop thinking about is caring what other people think. And I know all of us have thought this. Me, number one, literally, I have always cared about what other people thought of me. But the truth is that if you are so fixated on what other people think of you, if you're fixated on what they might think of you or what they might say about certain things in which you want to do and certain things that you want to accomplish, you are using all of your energy on them. And you're not going to have much energy left to actually focus, to plan, to execute, and to continuously do what you need to do to get to your desired destination. Many of us, if we actually admit that we haven't done certain things because we are so frightened of somebody looking at us and thinking that we're weird, or somebody thinking and looking at us like that we're getting it wrong, or we're actually making mistakes in live mode. And it's one of those things where we have to actually grab on and really take it seriously, because when you're afraid of looking stupid, you are going to stop yourself from actually doing certain things. The truth of the matter is that before you become a master, you're going to be an amateur. You're going to be a beginner. And beginners are not great at things. Why? Because you are beginning. You are actually trying to hone in a skill, and that's going to require lots of practice. And most of the time, you're going to be rubbish at it. To give you an example of how this affected me is that during COVID, I ended up putting so much weight, literally 3 stones. I don't know what that is in pounds. I think that's 47 pounds. And I put on weight in COVID. Now, everybody put on weight in COVID, so it was a normal thing. But let's be honest, like COVID was 4 years ago. And every single month I kept telling my friends that I want to lose weight. I don't like how I put on weight. I don't like how I feel with this weight gain. But in the beginning, it was only 5 pounds. Then it turned to 10. Then it turned into 15. And then all of a sudden, I had put on 45 to 47 pounds of weight. And I knew that I had to either start to exercise, whether I had to start jogging outside or start to skip outside in the park or go to the gym. But I was so frightened that people would look at me and think to myself, who is this weird person skipping outside? Who is this person at the gym who can't even lift weights? Or I thought that someone's gonna think I'm weird because I'm jogging outside. And so I stopped myself from going. And I did attempt to work out outside a few times, but I just thought that everybody was staring at me. And were people staring at me? I don't actually know. But in my mind, it felt as if everybody that was walking by was staring at me. And so I would literally be outside for 5-10 minutes and then I'll call it quits and I'll go back home. Literally. And I did that so many times. I even had anxiety about going to the gym and working out because I thought that people look at me like I'm stupid. And that stopped me from losing weight. But not only did it stop me from losing weight, I kept gaining more weight in between because I felt so bad about putting on the weight. However, that wasn't the case. I had to get over the fear of people staring at me, or me getting it wrong in the beginning, or me looking silly in the beginning, or me actually asking for help in the beginning, because my goal was to lose weight. And I don't know what your goal is or what you're trying to be. Maybe you want to start off a career in cybersecurity, or you want to start your acting career, or you want to be on YouTube, or you want to start painting again or singing again, and what's stopping you is because that you think that people are going to think, what are you doing? Who do you think you are? Why do you believe that you can do this? But when you are so fixated, like I said in the beginning, when you're so fixated on what other people are doing, you have no energy to actually get to the point of planning, executing, and actually creating. When you stop yourself from doing what you need to do because of what you believe other people may think, you stop yourself from living the life that you could have lived. If I continued to be scared about what other people may think of how I look like in the gym, then I wouldn't have lost the weight and feel comfortable and confident in who I am today. In literally 6 months, I think I've currently lost 35 pounds. I still got a little bit left to go, but I lost 35 pounds in literally 4 to 5 months because I said, I don't give a damn who's staring at me in the gym. And that's the mindset that you need to have going into 2025. Like, who gives a damn? You're the one that's going to have to live in regret for not going towards your goal because you cared about what other people think. You're the one that has to literally sit with yourself with this internal anguish or internal battle with yourself. When you're telling yourself that I want to do this, but I can't do this. I want to do this, but I can't do this. You're the one that has to sit with yourself and actually handle that internal battle. And you're actually stopping yourself because you're worried about what somebody else is going to think, and what they think doesn't matter. Like, honestly, there are people that are judging you, yet they're not doing anything in their lives. There are people who they don't even like themselves, but yet they have the courage to tell you who you think you are for trying. And that's one of the things in which all of us, we all need to really hone in and actually stop caring about what other people's got to say, because at the end of the day, you are on your own path. You are the only one. You're on your own path. God gave you an assignment. God gave you a project. God had already destined a life for you before anybody else had a say. And so it's one of those things where you have to actually tell yourself, I'm not going to care. I'm going to do what I need to do because I have something that I want to achieve. I have something that I want to do. And I only have one life. You only have one life. And so you might as well live it to the fullest and become everything that you're supposed to do and literally quiet down the noise. Number 3, you need to stop abandoning yourself. Abandoning yourself is putting other people's needs, emotions ahead of yours because you want them to stay. It's the belief that if you were to put yourself first, then people will leave you. And so you decide, put your needs, your values, your aspirations to the side and make sure that you elevate somebody else ahead of you because you want them to stay. Now, the only reason why this is not a good thing to do is because that you start to teach yourself that you are not to be valued. You teach people to not care about your needs or not to care about your values or to care about your dreams and aspirations because you are constantly putting their needs and aspirations above your own. You teach people and yourself really that it's okay to go last. It's not okay to put other people's needs and values and wants and dreams and aspirations before you. Many of us, because that we grew up in an environment where we had to fight to get attention, that we had to fight to get love and affection. When we believe that somebody else's presence is better than us being by ourselves, even if we have to give ourselves up to keep them there. We believe that even though people devalue us or they don't care for us the same way that we care for them, it's so much better than actually staying by yourself. And why this is so problematic, when you self-abandon yourself, it actually creates self-hate. It creates self-depreciation. You start to develop low self-esteem and a lack of confidence. It's because you start to outsource your power onto other people instead of actually getting self-validation and internal validation. You don't need people to stay if that means that you have to give yourself up. You do not need people in your life that's not going to allow you to create space to show up as the real you and the authentic you. If no one told you that you were allowed to have boundaries, you are. And if boundaries are going to push people away, if you're telling somebody that you don't like this or you don't like that, or you want to be treated a certain way, or that you need some alone time, or that actually you need to show up in the way in which you want to show up, and that causes that person to leave, you need to understand that that person was never supposed to be in your life in the first place. And when you abandon yourself and you allow people to treat yourself in that way, you're never going to be able to actually maneuver and step into everything that you could possibly possibly be, because that you are actually shrinking yourself. You're making yourself small to make other people higher. So how are you supposed to actually reach out for that goal, or become that person, become that woman, become that man, to actually walk in the full essence of who you're supposed to be, when you have decided to shrink because you want to highlight somebody else, that you want to actually make somebody else look grand so then you can become small? One way which will actually help you to stop abandoning yourself is to actually get used to being alone. And not only getting used to being alone, because that for people, I know that for me, there were times in my life where I was alone, and maybe you are somebody out there that's just like, Sabable, I'm already alone. I don't have much people around me. But it's not necessarily about being alone, but it's actually enjoying being alone. Is getting to know yourself while being alone, getting to know your quirks, your dislikes, your likes, your desires, who you want to be. Get paper and pen and start to write down your wildest dreams. Start to write down who you want to become, what you want to do, what life will look like for you in 10, 15, 20 years. Start to, think of all of the things that you believe that could never happen. You start to write down who you want to become. If you were the most confident person, the most charismatic person, the person with the greatest self-esteem, how would you show up? Start to write that down and start to actually do small, simple steps that person every single day, and do it alone. And then you start to realize that actually you like your own company. Watch the movies that you like, play the games that you like, go to the places that you like. And then you start to realize that actually I like who I am. And so when you're around other people, you start to realize that you don't have to mold and shift and become a chameleon and abandon yourself just to actually have love and have appreciation and validation. That's the only way that you'll be able to step into the fullness of who you are. When you allow people to see you for the fullness of who you are. When you start to see yourself the way that God sees you. Step number 4, and this is something that I believe that a lot of us don't really pay attention to, but you need to stop allowing people to use you as entertainment. Now, hear me out on this. What I mean by entertainment is that if people are bored, or people don't have much to do, or people needs enjoyment, they always call you up. And one way you will come to realize if somebody is using you for entertainment, you're going to realize because they will blatantly tell you that they are bored. They will hit you up, they will call you, and they will say that, hey, I am bored and I just needed someone to talk to. I needed something to do. And I thought of you. Now, be careful of people like that. You're not a TV show. You can't just get remote and flick you on. Like, hey, I'm bored, entertain me. You need to be mindful of people like that, because they don't know how to entertain themselves. They don't know how to do things that could elevate themselves or give them joy or give them excitement, and they want you to do it for them. I came to realize that there were a lot of people in my life that whenever they were bored, whenever they wanted to go out, whenever they wanted to go and do something, they will hit me up. It was, and I don't blame them, it was a mix of being a people pleaser and also the fact that I loved excitement. I loved doing things. Like, I'm a doer. I love experiencing new things, going to new places. And so whenever somebody was bored, I was kind of like, well, I don't want them to be bored. I'll just go out. I was at home doing nothing as well. And I'll convince myself that I wasn't doing much myself. I'll just go out with you. And then there was another thing of like, yeah, like, I do like to go out. I've never been to that restaurant before. I've never gone to that bar before. I've never done that activity before. However, I came to realize that I became the yes person. So whenever somebody was bored, they knew that Sabable will always be on it. We're going to go to a brunch this weekend. Sabable will be on it. We're going to go to a bar this evening. Okay, so I had engineers come over to the flat to fix my internet, and hopefully I'll get back into it. I realized that I became the yes person. So whenever anybody had plans to go out for brunch or for dinner or try a new activity, they always had me in mind. But one thing that I've noticed is that when you become the yes person is that people actually don't value your time. They literally feel as if you are constantly available. They constantly feel as if they can just hit you up and you will be available for them to do whatever, whenever. And I do believe that comes with people not actually respecting you to your fullest, because they don't even tend to think that you might have other plans, or the fact that you might be building something or doing something because in the past you had always said yes. And that was my reality, and it actually takes away a form of respect towards you. And so if you find that people don't even consider that you could have other plans, or maybe building something or doing something, and that if they wanted to do something, they'll just put your name down, it's because that probably that you have showed in the past that you are always up for grabs, that you are always this person that will be there or say yes or do this or do that for them. And I've come to realize that if you want people to respect you, you also have to kind of limit their access to you. You can't always be available. And you might be thinking like, Sabable, I'm not always available. I actually am doing my own thing, but I do like to say yes and do certain things for certain people. I've come to realize that you just can't do that. You actually have to start to fill up with more of your time. Maybe there are other areas in life that you actually are lacking, or maybe not even paying attention to because you are the yes person, or because your time is being taken away to do things that really don't even really interest you, or actually depleting you. Going out all the time, always being a yes person, solving other people's problems, being someone else's entertainment. I'm sorry, like you could be doing other things in that space of time. Like, hey, you can't be enjoying yourself or being there for people 24 hours of the day. Like, you need to pull that back and actually give those hours, those minutes, those days, those months back to yourself, so you can start to do the things that you actually care about and the things that are really important to you. And the fifth one is, this trickles into the fourth one, is stop being everybody's therapist. Honestly, tell yourself, I am no longer here to be everyone's therapist. And it's really dangerous, because you are probably somebody who loves being there for people. You're probably a caretaker. You're probably a really loyal person. You're probably an empath. So you can feel the pain of others. And so when other people are going through things, you feel obliged and you feel as if it's your duty to be there for people. But I've come to realize that a lot of people, when you start to give things out to them, it's the saying that, you give an inch, but they will take a mile. And when you start to give out your time, your emotional capacity out to people, they want more of it. When you start to be the person who they can always call to soothe them, to calm them down, to encourage them, to pick them up, what you are actually teaching them is that their nervous system needs you, that you are their sort of savior in a way. That whenever they're feeling down, they need a pick-up call from you. Whenever they feel low, they need encouragement from you. Whenever they need something to be solved or a problem to be fixed, they know that you're going to come with your Bob the Builder tools and start to sort things out for them. You're actually teaching other people to not be comfortable, to not get comfortable with their own feelings and with their own emotions, because actually you're the person that's going to tell them what they feel, how they can fix it. And the wonderful thing about being an empath and being really in touch with your emotions is that you have obviously sat down with your own emotions. And when you're somebody that's comfortable with your uncomfortable feelings, it's really easy for you to pinpoint someone else's and actually give them tools and advice to actually help them to come out of their own slump or their own distressing moments. You have to allow people to go through their own journey. You have to allow people to get to the point where they are comfortable with their own situation. You're not always going to be there for them to help them come out of a situation or come out of feeling depressed or feeling sad or feeling unmotivated. And when you become the person, when you become somebody's crutch, or somebody has made you their crutch, actually it comes to the point where people in your life become burdens. And that's not me to be rude or anything like that. It's just that whenever they need something, they're always going to call you. Whenever they feel bad, they're always going to call you. And if you're always on the other end of the phone for 2, 3, 4 hours, if you're talking to them 4, 5 times a day, if you're talking to them 4 times a week, and you are giving all of that energy out to try and solve someone else's problem, what energy do you have for yourself? Think of yourself as a mobile phone. If I was to now give you my mobile phone and it's on 100%, but I don't give you a limit, I don't give you a time of how long you can use my mobile phone, that person's going to constantly use it up, constantly use that up. But then when you finally need to use that mobile phone and they give it back to you and it's on 2%, you're not going to be able to do the things that you need to do. You're not going to be able to go and research the things you need to research, look things up, order something, buy something, because you're on 2%. And now you have to go and take that mobile, pull it on charge, and wait for it to be recharged again for you to go and use that device. It's exactly with your emotional capacity. You are not infinite. You have unlimited emotional capacity, and you need to use it wisely. One thing that I actually did is that I love my friends, but I started to give people a time limit. I started to ask myself, first of all, before even taking a call or before giving advice, I asked myself, what capacity do I have today? How is my emotional well-being today? And if I realize that maybe I'm tired or I don't have the bandwidth to listen to negative news or to receive negative news because of where I'm at personally, then I will set myself a timer and be like, you know what, I can only be on the phone with you for X amount of time. I'm here to listen to you, but not to give you advice. I will tell them that I'm not in a place where I can help you the way that you want me to help you, and so you might need to go and seek advice elsewhere. And I know you might be thinking, Sabable, that's harsh, that's mean, because if there's people around in my life that I love, I should be able to be there for them. But if you really are honest with yourself, how much do people actually help to soothe your emotions and to soothe your internal chaos? If you really think about it, you are probably somebody that actually sits alone quite a bit, that you actually journal or you pray or you go to therapy. You have sought out other means to manage your internal state without actually putting the pressure or the burdens of people around you. And other people need to get to that point in their life where they actually start to build other resources, other tools, other avenues to actually calm themselves down or motivate themselves or to calm themselves down or to soothe them. You cannot be the solution to everyone's problems. You cannot be the solution to everyone's problem. And one thing as well, what I've come to realize, that most people want something to offload, release, to help them to soothe, but they are also not willing to take the advice that are given out to them. So realistically, you're probably giving out all of this emotional advice and getting emotionally invested in their situation and their problems, but yet they're going back out and they're not actually implementing the things in which you've told them to do. And so it's just wasted effort. And one thing that, there's a saying that goes, misery loves company. And so without you actually realizing it, you are being dragged into their vault, especially if you're an empath that doesn't know how to divide your feelings to other people's feelings, that doesn't know how to decipher this is someone else's feelings and this is my feeling. Then you can easily start to drag yourself into a vault that you were never supposed to be at. And this is one thing that definitely helped me this year. I realized that I wasn't the counselor to one person, 2 people, or 3 people. I was a counselor to a plethora, like a group of individuals. And I found myself sometimes feeling depressed or feeling sad or feeling low. And when I really started to sit down and start to journal, I realized that I was feeling heavy and weighed down, not because of my own problems, but because of the problems in which I was hearing. I'm not trained to be a psychologist. You are not trained to be a psychologist. You're not trained to be a therapist. And so you need to create boundaries in your life on how much you can give out emotionally, how much you can give out mentally, how much you can give out physically. And so when it comes to being the person that everybody can come to get advice, to get encouragement, to get love, you need to set a limit for yourself, especially if you are a giver. Especially if you are a giver, you need to set boundaries and limit with yourself on what you can give out. Because just like I've mentioned throughout this video, is that you are you are limited. And so you need that energy for yourself, because if you start to outsource all of that, you're not going to be left with anything back. You're not going to be left with anything to actually be able to do the things that you need to do. And when you start to do this, you'll realize that you've opened up so much more space and so much more time and so much mental clarity to actually start to figure out and plan the things that you need to do, because your mind is not heavy on other people's baggage or other people's situations. You start to realize that you actually have so much more capacity and you can start to use it upon yourself. Number 6, you have to let go of people who have already let go of you. A lot of us, if we have a lot of flicking of the hair here, for people who suffer with an abandonment wound, it may trigger you to start to chase people who are running away from you, because you can easily feel distance and a gap, and you can actually start to see the micro little things that people are doing. So when someone's attitude changes or someone's action changes or someone's emotion, you can even start to feel emotional shift. And because that scares you, because you know there's a gap, it causes you to run and to chase and to do more. So when someone stops calling you the way that they used to call you, start to call them more. If someone stops texting you or responding the way that they used to, you start to text them more and start to, to really blow up their phone, because you don't feel comfortable in that gap of people letting go of you. But there are people that they might not tell you that they decided to let go of you. They won't tell you that they no longer like the friendship, or they no longer like the dynamic of the relationship that they had. And this can go for platonic and romantic. There are some people that don't have the courage to let you know that they are no longer vibing with you in that particular way. And so they will start to move slowly out of your life. But I've come to tell you that you need to let go of people who are moving out of your life. And for those who have actually left your life a long time ago, weeks ago, months ago, years ago, and they're still subconsciously in your heart, like you're still holding pieces of them to you, in your mind, in your heart, in your feelings, you have to find a way to actually let go of them. Because if you do not let go of them, you will find yourself constantly daydreaming about them, of what things could have been, how things should have gone, the things which are missing, the things that you love about them and miss about them, and you start to take up mental and emotional space within you, because you actually haven't let them go. And I know how hard it is, especially if people have left your life without actually giving you an explanation or giving you a reason, and they're just up and left. It's really hard, because you're going to try and make sense of why they left or departed or abandoned you. But if you go back to even the point of not abandoning yourself, you have to come to the realization that you are good on your own. I understand that they gave something to you. Now, there wasn't be a reason why you missed them so much, or you can't let go of them if it wasn't because they gave you something. They obviously gave something to you. And one way where you can fill that gap is get down a pen and paper and write down what they gave you. Did they make you feel needed? Did they make you feel loved? Did they make you feel accepted? Did they make you feel cherished? And you write all of those things that they make you feel seen. Write down all of those things and start to actually find ways in which you can do that for yourself. How can you make yourself feel seen? How can you make yourself feel loved? How can you bring excitement into your own life, and start to find strategies and activities that can bring that sense of fulfillment back within you? And I know it won't feel the same. It won't feel the same as that particular person, but it actually might be better, and it will definitely be healthier, because holding on to things, again, this whole video, holding on to people, things, places that no longer want you, or no longer are connected to you will stop you from getting things in. Like, just think of it as your driveway, and you want a new car, but in your driveway you've got 4, 5, 7 different cars, and your partner bought you a new car. However, it's not allowed to stay in the side road. It has to go in the driveway, but you don't have any more space in the driveway. What are you gonna do? You have to get rid of every single car in that driveway to receive this new car. And you might be thinking to yourself that, but I'm gonna be giving up a lot by letting them go. I'm gonna be giving up a lot by letting that person go. The people that have left me, all the things that we had experienced, the memories, the experiences, the love, the emotions. I can't let that go. I don't know if I'm going to get anything back. I don't know if I'm going to get better people back into my life, or a better love, or better friends. But I'm going to tell you that there is a new car parked on the side road, waiting to go into your driveway. But you have to let all of those things go. You have to let that person go, that ex go, that friend go, that best friend, that sibling, that mother, that parent, whoever that family member is. You have to let them go for something to come in. If your hands are juggling many things and I try to throw a ball at you, you're not going to be able to catch it because you're occupied. Do not allow yourself to be occupied by people who no longer love you, who no longer want to stay because you're afraid. Don't allow fear of the unknown stop you actually letting things go, because there is something better on the other side. And number 7, in which we all have experienced this, you have to let go fear in every way. Fear of the unknown, fear that it could go wrong, fear of failure, fear of being lonely, fear of never making it, fear of being judged, fear of whatever fear it is. Let it go. And the only reason why you're fearing, and fearing is not a bad thing, the only reason why you're fearing is because you don't know what's on the other side. You don't know what's on the other side of whatever that you're trying to do. And so it scares you. And especially if you're somebody who has gone through trauma, of experienced things and it didn't go well. You fear things not because it's made up, it's because it's a reality to you. You experienced that. Maybe you did try something new and it didn't go well. Maybe you tried a new career path and you wasn't good at it. Maybe you did end a relationship and it took you a really long time to find somebody else. Maybe you lost some friends and you were alone for a while, and it took a while for people to actually come into your life, and you don't want to go through those experiences again. I get it. But you cannot compare the things that happened in the past to what's going to happen in the future. Let go of fear. Ask yourself, why are you fearing this? Where is it coming from? Have I experienced something in the past which is similar? Do I have evidence that something is going to go wrong if I try this or try that? And if not, what I do is that I go into the Word of God. I go into the Word of God and I pray, and I literally ask God to tell me and to really give me the courage and the boldness to try. Because if you have fear, it doesn't matter what you do, big or small, because we think that like maybe I'm not a fearful person because I'm not trying to own a business, or I'm not trying to do, but you could be fearing trying to lose weight. You could be fearing starting a new career path. You could be fearing making new friends, whatever that is that you are fearing. Think of fear as a door that needs to be unlocked. Think of fear as I'm fearing this, but there's something on the other side. I just need to unlock this fear. And a lot of us, we believe that we need to get rid of fear before actually stepping into the new. But realistically, you need to learn to walk with it. You need to learn to actually look fear in the face and say, do you know what? I know that you're here, but I'm going to keep walking forward. I'm going to keep pressing ahead. You do not have to get rid of fear, because realistically, you're never going to. Like, fear pops up from time to time. It never tells you when it's going to come around. And so why wait for it to go? Just continue to press on forward whenever you feel it. Because the truth of the matter is that most people are never going to be able to accomplish their goals because of fear. And the thing that fear is a liar. It doesn't tell you the full truth. It doesn't tell you the things that could happen. It doesn't tell you the next steps. It doesn't tell you who you could become or who you're going to become. It doesn't tell you the people that you're going to meet, the people who are waiting to love you, the people that's waiting to clap for you, the people that's waiting for your obedience. It doesn't tell you, it just tells you that you're not good enough. It tells you that you're not pretty enough, that you're not worthy enough, that you're not valuable enough. Fear tells you to stay where you're supposed to be. It tells you to not even bother to take a step, but that's not the full story. There's another story at the other end of fear. And if you're not careful, if you're not strong enough to push through that, you're never going to become who you're supposed to be. The graveyard is literally full of people who didn't accomplish what they were supposed to accomplish. They died with a book, they died with a painting, they died with a sermon, they died with a movie, they died with, I don't know, so many things because they were fearful. Don't allow fear to write your story. Don't allow it to write the pages to your life. Don't allow it to stop you in the tracks. It looks scary today, but it's just like everything that we've done in life. When a baby has to learn to walk, or when your first day at school, your first day at a new job, or meeting a new friend, or for many of us who, when we met our partners, that it was all fear, it was all scary in the beginning, and it goes. You just have to press on you just have to press past those uncomfortable first moments, days, weeks, and then you will see that it becomes nothing. It just becomes normal. So don't allow it to rob you of your future. Don't allow fear to rob you of all the things that you could have been. And number 8, stop denying your desires. You won't get a gold star by playing it down. You won't get a gold star by saying you don't want something, or you don't feel badly about it, or you don't desire it as much. You need to stand with your full chest and say, I want this. Until you allow the fire within yourself to admit that you want this and you want it bad, you're never going to chase after it. Don't tell yourself that you don't really want to date, or you don't really want to start this new career, or you don't really want to lose weight. I'll be okay if I don't. I'll be okay if I don't get this. I'll be okay if I don't earn this amount of money. I'll be okay if I don't make any more new friends, if I don't make new friends. Don't tell yourself that. Don't lie to yourself. Don't tell yourself that. Don't play down your desires. You have that desire for a reason. Stop questioning if it's good or bad. Stop questioning if you're worthy of it, if you're not. Stop questioning if it's doable or not doable. Go for it. Tell yourself straight up that you want this. And I know that it could be scary. I know it's scary to admit fully that you want what you want, because maybe you've wanted something in the past and you didn't get it. I know that it feels so much safer to actually play down your desires, because you just never know. I feel as if it kind of softens the blow if we don't get what we've said that we wanted, or if it doesn't come on time, or if it doesn't come in the way in which we thought that it would come. It just makes it so much easier. But actually, not only does it make it easy if it doesn't come, when it does come, you don't get that full excitement. You don't get that full joy, because you learn to suppress your emotions and the fullness of it. And so what's the point? It is life. Sometimes you won't get what you've desired, and sometimes you will. But one thing for sure is that you will get what is meant for you. And I think that it just helps you to open up and start to be more curious and be more open, and maybe not be so rigid on how things are supposed to come, and you can be more playful with it. One thing I've definitely learned is that to suspect things to come, but to be open in how it comes and how it's supposed to come as well. And so if you are in a space where you're just like, I don't need to really lose weight, I don't really need to get this job, don't do that to yourself. You're denying yourself for so much. Because when you don't allow the fire to burn within you, you don't fully go and do the things that you're supposed to do. You don't fully actually allow yourself to immerse yourself to get the things that you're supposed to get. So don't do that. And number 9, stop wanting to be liked. Honestly, tell yourself, I don't need to be liked by everybody. Like, when did being liked by everybody pay you? Like, when, like, being liked by everybody, does it pay your bills? Does it pay your mortgage? Does it pay your rent? Does it buy you clothes? Does it feed you? It does not do any of that. Like, I understand why we have that, or why people think that, especially if you're somebody who is a people pleaser. And coming from me, I used to be a serious people pleaser. And I call myself an ex because it's something that God is literally driving out of me and working with me through that. But I've come to realize is that we are taught that to not rattle feathers, that we don't want anybody to be angry at us. We don't want to disagree with somebody. We don't want somebody to be upset with us. And so we are agreeable. We like what they like. We believe in what they believe in. We value what they believe, what they value in. But you start to be somebody who just always wants somebody to like you. You start to move in a way where you're no longer yourself. You start to walk in a shadow of yourself because you're trying to walk and be with somebody else. So you're always trying to figure out, like, what do they want to do? How do they want me to behave and act? And you start to move in that essence. You don't actually move in the fullness of who you are. And when you start to do that, you also start to deny, just like the previous one of denying what your desires are, because you want people to like you. And so you might be somebody that's into arts, but hey, everyone's into movies, and you start to move it, like you start to maneuver in that way, and it doesn't allow you to do the things that you're supposed to do. It doesn't allow you to actually explore the journey, the path, the things that are actually on your heart. And I totally get it. It's really scary for you to be in opposed to somebody or in opposition to somebody, especially if you're somebody who grew up and whenever you thought differently or had a different way of thinking of actually that being valued or being celebrated, you maybe got somebody not really talking to you or being left out. And when you're left with that emotion within your body, you won't want to experience that again. And so you move in a way where you always want to be walking step by step with somebody else. But when you are so accustomed or you're so obsessed with wanting to be liked, you're not walking the fullness of who you are. You're never going to become who you're supposed to be, because you're never going to say what you want to say. You're never going to share what's really on your heart, what you really think of. You're never going to share your values or what makes you weird or what you don't like, because it might differ from somebody else. So instead of actually you standing out and creating space for yourself, you start to blend in and start to look like everybody else. But when you start to move like everybody else, you get the same results as everybody else. When you start to behave like everybody else, you start to get what people or other people get. And this whole point of you showing up as your best self is for you to get everything that is for you. You don't want to leave this world with anything left that's not supposed to be given to you. You want everything that the Lord wants for you, that the world wants to give you. You want everything that God had ordained for you. You don't want to leave this world with anything untouched and turned. But you're not going to be able to do that when you are so fixated in other people liking you. So what if they don't like the fact that you want to lose weight and they like your weight? So what if you want to change your diet and they don't like the way that you're eating? It doesn't really matter. You want to be aligned with people who are aligned with you. You want to form a community with people who think similar or value you, or you don't want to be around people who don't like you or don't appreciate you. And the thing is that you need to understand that the people who are meant to like you are going to like you regardless. Like, you don't have to start to change yourself and act like a chameleon and start to shape shift just to get people to like you. It's the people that you're trying so heavily to convince them to like you. They're the ones in which you are going to have to start to hula hoop and do backflips through a hoop of fire just to get them to like you. And at the end of the day, they're still not going to like you because you don't know the reason why they don't like you in the first place. Some people don't like you because you're too confident, or because you believe in yourself, because you're sure of yourself, because you're not trying to actually fit in, and they're threatened by that. So what's the point in using all of that energy to figure out or to make somebody like you, when you can use all of that energy to actually become everything that you're supposed to be. Because the thing is that when you are obsessed with getting people to like you, you create a wound. You're going to walk around with a self-worth complex where you will actually start to feel as if you're not good enough, that you are not worthy enough. You're going to start to lack confidence and have low self-esteem, because you're going to start to believe that you're just not worthy just being who you are right now. Honestly, when you give your power away to people who don't like you, or you get a sense that they don't like you, you take away your power. You have nothing else left for yourself, because you're using all of that energy onto them. And honey, all that energy needs to be back onto yourself. So forget about trying to get people to like you. It doesn't do anything. Honestly, the people that like you are going to like you, and the people are not going to like you are not going to like you. You being obsessed over it or trying to make it happen isn't going to change a thing. And once you start to settle with that and actually get comfortable with the fact that people might not like you, your life is going to be completely easier, and you're going to see yourself shift in 2025. So guys, we've come to the end of this video, and I know that if you were to work on a few of these points, that you will actually soar in 2025. So drop down in the comments and find out which one of these points that are you going to focus and work on to actually make 2025 your best year yet. And if there are other points in which you have worked on this year that has made your life a lot more easier, that's made you to shine through, share it in the comments and let everybody else know, because it's all about community. We're all here to help each other and to lift each other up. So I see you in the next video. Bye.